Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome once more to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio with me, Rob Pritchard, and the team, with you now until 6:30pm, looking towards this weekend's sporting action. So, coming up tonight, Peel and Ayre remain locked together at the top of the Canada Life Men's Premier League ahead of this weekend's latest fixtures, which begin this evening. Douglas are looking to continue their impressive form in Regional 2 North West in Manx Rugby, with Vagabonds facing a tough task on the road. And after some dramatic results in last Saturday's curtain raiser, Week 2 awaits in the 2024 men's and ladies Manx hockey season. That is all to come this evening. Hello and welcome once again to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio, the second Friday Sport Preview of 2024, and we've got plenty of sporting action once again coming up this weekend as everything resumes after that break over the previous festive period in the last few weeks. Turning our attention to football to start with, and then there's a big hybrid of both league and cup action taking place across Saturday and Sunday, and to go through it with me, all of it, once again we welcome Tony Mepham to the studio. Tony, very good evening to you.
Good evening, Rob, and just like your opening few words, the weather, and we're going to have some games because over the last few weeks we've struggled a little bit, but the weather's been kind this week and full programme tomorrow.
Indeed there is. Well, actually the programme gets underway this evening, starting off with the Canada Life Men's Premier League. So two teams, I should say, locked together at the top at the moment. Ayre United and Peel both on 33 points. Peel ahead on goal difference, but Ayre United with that crucial game in hand. And it's the Westerners who are in action tonight. They could maybe just take a step forward and maybe ask the question of Ayre United the weekend, because Peel, they're involved in the Friday night football over at Mullinachloy up against St John's United, Tony.
Yeah, it should be a really good game, this one, because St John's good result last time and plenty of goals. Luke Murray's signed for them, so he'll make it interesting. I don't think Callum Taggart's available. I think he's away, so that'll sort of alter Sam Brown's team up front, certainly. But, we've just got to wait and see what the team sheets say at about 6:30. But certainly Peel are going to be missing one or two players. Owen Dawson, who got a red card last week, he'll miss out tonight, and Luke Doherty as well. Now, it's always been a grey area for me because sometimes it's a week before the bands come in, so they might just be able their last sort of day before the band kicks in. So we'll wait and see how that one goes. But I think Peel should just have the edge.
Well, that's the Friday night football. Then we move into Saturday's fixtures. Before we get on to the rest of the Canada Life Men's Premier League and the other league games taking place across Saturday, we do still have some cup action to attend to from the previous week. There are 3 rearranged games in the ECAP FA Cup preliminary round that were postponed the other week due to unfit pitches. Let's take a look through those. Earlier starts for those at 1:15 tomorrow. We'll start off with Malou, and they'll be hosting Premier League St Mary's.
Yeah, earlier start because it's if it's all square after 90, it's extra time, and then into penalties if we still haven't got a result. But Malou against St Mary's. Malou, I think, will find it pretty difficult. St Mary's are top side in the Premier League. Malou's pitch a little bit soft, but not too bad. We had it checked at lunchtime, so we'll wait and see what Alex Harrison does with his team, because I'm not too sure what players are available, but you would expect St Mary's to go through into the next round, which the draw's already been made.
The second of those 3 ties is one of those that I think raised a few eyebrows as a potential one to watch. Moran versus Castletown. Now, Tony, you were on your way to Memorial Playing Fields the other week and the game was called off at the last second. The referee making the decision that the pitch was not fit to be played on, so due to be played this weekend. Do you still anticipate a close contest here?
Yeah, I think I do, because Moran are near the bottom of the Premier League, well, the bottom, and when you look at Castletown, they're top, so it's a great indicator. And when the draw was made, we thought this will just give us a rough idea of where the Premier League and Div 2 is standard-wise, and there's no doubt about it, Castletown's forward line is strong, there's plenty of goals in there, but Moran probably defensively really good. Going forward now, they've got 1 or 2 scorers in there, and I think David Brewer will be looking to see if they can get a result out of it, and I think Moran can do it. I think Moran can just sneak this.
Very well, and then the other ECAP FA Cup preliminary round tie taking place tomorrow is an all Division 2 affair, and that sees Douglas and District host Foxdale.
Yeah, and when you look at the league table, Div 2, you can see that Foxdale absolutely flying, and I think Anthony Corkle's team will get the result against D&D. I know Lewis Qualtrough will probably play for D&D, so that'll shore things up at the back, but I just think Foxdale all round will be too strong for them, and that's why I'm going for Foxdale.
So those ECAP FA Cup preliminary round ties, the earlier kick-off time for those of 1:15 to allow for extra time if needed, and then if teams still can't be separated, it could be the infamous penalty shootout. We'll have to wait and see how they unfold. Let's get back to the league fixtures taking place on Saturday. All league fixtures kicking off at 2 p.m. Let's start with the 4 fixtures on Saturday in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. And first off, just to take a look, we mentioned Ayre United before, currently tied with Peel at the top of the table, behind on goal difference, but with a game in hand. Peel played this evening, and Ayre United suffered their first defeat of the campaign last weekend, a 2-1 home defeat to Corinthians. They'll be looking to get back on track at home against Douglas Royal.
Yeah, and I think the pitch wasn't too good last week, and certainly against Douglas Royal it's not going to be easy, because you look at recent results for Douglas Royal, absolutely flying. Michael Fitzmaurice's team has done well. Not too sure, again, team news from him, because Callum Sherry's been playing. You've got the boys up front who'll score plenty of goals. But I think Ayre United last week, just one of those games, they couldn't get going. And I'm going to go for Ayre United just to win.
And let's not forget the other 3 fixtures there, because we have Corinthians up against Union Mills at Ballafletcher. St George's will be hosting Ramsey, and Braddon at home to Laxey.
Yeah, Corinthians, that's a tremendous result last week, because the 3 or 4 results before that weren't too good. But, you know, last week it all clicked together. The boys up front were looking good. Midfield worked hard. Union Mills have got a new manager. Ryan Kelly comes in, and Paul Guyver has decided to just give it a miss, and well done for all your hard work, Paul. But certainly Union Mills haven't been playing particularly well of late, and you would expect Corinthians to go 2 out of 2 weekends winning. That's a rarity for them over the last few games, so certainly this one I'm going to go for them to win.
St George's and Ramsey and Braddon and Laxey there.
Yeah, St George's against Ramsey. St George's last week against Douglas Royal, it didn't go for them at all. And, Johnny Myers must be pulling his hair out, because he knows the players are there. It's just getting them out each week. But Ramsey are in the thick of the action, aren't they, at the top of the table? And Anthony Cooper's team, I think, will beat St George's. When you look at Braddon against Laxey are finding the form now, Rob, that everyone expected them at the start of the season, scoring plenty of goals. I've seen their team. It's looking pretty good. No Joe Walters, so that will hamper things. But Laxey to beat Braddon. And as I say, Premier League at the moment is open for grabs at the top, with Ayre being pegged back a little bit with that result last week.
Well, let's take a look elsewhere. Just the 2 games this weekend in DPS Limited Division 2. It's Governors Athletic. They host Douglas High School Old Boys at Colby, and Michael United will welcome Pulrose. Yeah,
Governors Athletic now have moved back up to Nobles Park, Rob, and they've just got the small pitch. It's Douglas Royal's old pitch and D&D's, so they're back on there. And against Old Boys, I'd expect Old Boys to win it, but it's a tight pitch. It is quite narrow, so that might just help Governors Athletic a little bit, but I just think the form that Old Boys have been in too strong.
And Michael United still trying to keep pace with the teams at the top of Division 2 at the moment. Up against Pulrose, it's been a challenging season for them so far.
Yeah, it is, and Pulrose, unfortunately, in the Cup, it's not nice when you see a team get beat by that many goals, but it happens, and they drew one of the better teams, as well with Michael. They did well in the Cup, but only just won it against Governors, still scoring plenty of goals. Michael to win.
Very well, let's take a quick look through the combination division, starting with Canada Life Combination 1. We have 4 games on Saturday. Yeah,
Union Mills against Corinthians. A bit unsure about this one, not because of my connection with Corinthians, but the current form that they've had against Mills, and I'm going to go for Corinthians to beat them. Laxey against Braddon, Laxey to win in that. Peel against St John's. St John's should be strong enough. Peel, very young side. And Douglas Royal against Ayre United. I'll go for Ayre just to take the points.
And then also 4 games in DPS Limited Combination 2 at 2 o'clock on Saturday.
Onken against Castletown. I'll go with Onken to win. Jims against Foxdale. Foxdale to take the 3 points. Douglas High School Old Boys against Governors. You have to go with Old Boys to have the victory in that one. And Douglas Athletic against D&D. Douglas Athletic should just win it.
And then we move into Sunday. Now, we were awaiting confirmation earlier this week with regards to the Canada Life Women's Floodlit Cup. Tony, I do believe you now have the details for Sunday's fixtures.
Yeah, we got the draw because unfortunately the qualification game, or the last one we needed, was played last Sunday, so we did the draw on Monday, and the draw came out the hat in the FA headquarters. Corinthians against Cunningham. This one will kick off at 2:10, and Douglas Royal against Peel 3:40. And the final, Rob, we haven't got the date at the moment because the final should have been this week, unfortunately, but we'll wait and see how the semi-finals go. They've got to be decided on the day, so we'll have a result. And a date we're kicking around with at the moment is, it's all hinging on FC Isle of Man, is the 10th of February, which is a Saturday, because can't get it in on a Sunday. We've got Masters football, and FC Isle of Man after tomorrow I've got 3 home games, so it's sort of stopped us from getting a game on. But at the moment we're looking at possibly the 10th of February for the final.
Well, I can tell you actually just at the moment of FC Isle of Man's fixtures on that date, the 10th of February, they're currently due to play Prestwich Hayes away from home on Saturday the 10th of February.
That's why we've gone for it. Fingers crossed.
And looking at those Canada Life Women's Floodlit Cup fixtures, do we see an upset anywhere in there at all, or are we expecting the likes of Corinthians and Peel to be the last two standing?
Well, yeah, possibly. Corinthians got beat last week by Peel, and Peel played really well. As Cunningham have shown this season, they can mix it with the big teams. You know, they only just narrowly lost to Corinthians, and if they've got the strongest team out there, then they can have a right good go. I don't know whether Shannon will play, because Shannon Groves, she gashed her knee and it was a nasty, nasty cut. And that's not too long ago, so I think she'll miss it out. But I'll go for Corinthians just to win it. Douglas Royal against Peel, it's all down to how strong Peel are, because they've got some really good players in there. But if there's 1 or 2 missing, then Douglas Royal might just be able to edge it, but I can't see it. So I'm going to go for Corinthians and Peel final.
Well, we'll have to wait on Sunday. And last but certainly not least on Sunday, we've also got 2 games kicking off at 2 o'clock in the Masters football. Yeah,
in the Masters football, there's not been a lot of Masters football played of late, but 2 good games this weekend. Douglas Royal against Colby. I'll go for Colby just to win that one. And Cunningham against Ayre United. Cunningham really strong, but Laxey have been the team to talk about this year. They've been really good in the Masters League, so I'm going to go for Cunningham to beat Ayre.
Tony Mepham, thank you very much, and we'll be catching up with you again tomorrow.
Manx Radio Sport.
Rugby now, and Douglas will be hoping to continue their recent impressive form when they head back on their travels in the Regional 2 Northwest tomorrow. Also forming part of Saturday's Isle of Man rugby fixtures, Vagabonds will also be on the road in Counties 4 ADM Lancs Cheshire, with 2 more Manx Shield fixtures also thrown into the mix. Back with the latest details is our rugby correspondent, Dave Christian.
We start off with Douglas in Regional 2 Northwest. They go away to Whitchurch. Now, they beat Whitchurch at Portachi earlier this year in the first time I think the 2 clubs have ever played in a league game. They've beaten them quite well, as the performance excellent on the day from Douglas, and of course they've kicked on since then. 3 back-to-back wins now have pushed them well away from the bottom end of the table, and now they need to start looking a little bit more with ambition as to where they could potentially finish this season. I would think promotion's out of the question. Birkenhead Park are the league leaders. They're way too far ahead. However, 4th, 5th, 6th place may be attainable for Douglas if they can get the right set of results. The game at Whitchurch, it's at their Edgeley Park ground, not to be confused with Edgeley Park, the home ground of Stockport County. I would think 1 o'clock kick-off down there, that's just to make Douglas's travel arrangements a little bit easier. The team has been fairly settled. There's no reported injuries from last week. This team, it's been together now for a few months. They're starting to play together, work together and function as a unit, and that's all credit to coach Phil Kringle and his backroom staff there at Douglas. I've got my fingers crossed for a win. Whitchurch only just ahead of Douglas in the table. They've beaten them at home. Let's see if they can do it away and kick on upwards on that table. Vagabonds have a slightly different prospect. They have to go to Marple. The game at Marple, never an easy place to go and get a win. And Vagabonds last week, they had all the personnel, and tactically I think they got it wrong. They were as fast and as physical as Ellesmere Port last week in that defeat, but Ellesmere Port just a little bit smarter. They looked a bit sharper, and as I said, they won the second half 14 points to 5, so tactically they got that right in the second half, but maybe just not in the first half. Marple, different kettle of fish. Ramsey have won there already this season in the Cheshire Plate, so it can be done. but your forwards are going to need to be on top. They were in the earlier fixture. The Vagabonds won that one at Ballafletcher, but I think away from home Marple might be a different kettle of fish, and they might find life a little bit tougher. They do need a result. The two teams at the top of counties for ADM, Lancashire, Cheshire, are starting to pull away from them, and another defeat this week could really see them perhaps exclude themselves from the promotion race, although they do have to play Colne, Nelson and Ashton-under-Lyne before the end of the season, so there's still opportunities for Vagabonds, but without it being a must-win game, it's pretty much a need-to-win game. And finally, we have two games domestically. The Ravenscroft Manx Shield, Ramsey against Southern Nomads at the Muirk Park. That's a 2:15 kick-off there. Ramsey, the dominant side domestically since we restarted after COVID. I don't see that changing any. Nomads haven't beaten them in the near past, at least. So Ramsey are pretty much on top there, and I think that'll continue at the Muirk Park. They've got the pace men out wide. Brandon Atchison just can't stop scoring points, and they've also got a pack of forwards who can hold their own. Nomads will give them a good game though, and I think that's what they're looking for. Ramsey travelling to Northwich next week for a mid-season friendly, and looking for a test over there, so this should get them pumped up for it. And of course Southern Nomads still with mathematical chance of success in the Cheshire Bowl. Finally, we have Western Vikings and Castletown. That game, as I understand it, will be played at Paulson Park. No rugby posts up for Western Vikings anymore at QE2. Difficult one to call. Castletown do struggle for players. They've got a very, very, very thin squad, and it doesn't take much for them to be short. That said, Douglas and Vagabonds both played away. They will have extra players who, if they can make the journey down there to Paulson Park, should be able to bolster Castletown. Western Vikings, of course, do have that Manx Plate final against Ramsey to consider. They need to get their team out, they need to get it out regularly, and they need to keep building towards that final. That is, of course, as soon as Cheshire RFU tell us when and where it will be played, which they still haven't done yet. So fingers crossed for news from Cheshire RFU, but Western Vikings Castletown, Paulson Park Castletown, 2:15 kick-off. I suspect we should see a Western Vikings win down there.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, after some dramatic results in the opening day of the campaigns last weekend, Week 2 awaits for the 2023 men's and ladies Manx hockey seasons tomorrow. Among the highlights 6 days ago, both of the respective defending Premier League champions, Backers Men's A and Castletown Ladies A, suffered surprise defeats. Could more doors open for their rivals and others as teams look to make a quick start out the blocks again on Saturday? Well, I caught up with our hockey correspondent Ben Cunningham this week. So now we enter the second weekend of the 2024 men's and ladies hockey season on the Isle of Man after some eye-catching results in the opening weekend, including defeats for both of last season's Premier League champions. Let's start with the fixtures in the men's Premier League this weekend, and the earliest start is a 12:30 pushback at QE2 out in Peel, and it's Valkyries A up against Backers B, Ben.
Yeah, this one I think will be very close because Backers B gave Castletown A a good run for their money last week, and of course Valkyries did draw with Harlequins last week, so this game could be very close. But I think Valkyries will come out on top, but it could be just one goal between the two of them.
And then at 1:30pm over at King William's College in the south of the island, Backers A, the defending champions, beaten narrowly by Vikings A last weekend. Backers A, a potential banana skin and another tough tie for them up against Castletown A.
Yeah, I really can't pick a winner out of this one. I think this could be a stalemate. Both Castletown and Backers, of course, Backers lost last weekend, as you said. Castletown got a good start to their season and will definitely have their heads up high. Backers will definitely want to make amends of last week.
And the other game in the men's Premier League does see the aforementioned Vikings A, 3:30pm at the National Sports Centre in Douglas, up against Harlequins A. Tough game for Harlequins, Ben.
Tough game, but they gave Valkyries a good match last week and got a point out of it, so could they maybe cause a surprise this weekend and possibly give Vikings a run for their money? We see.
Then we move to the Ladies Premier League. Starting off with the earliest pushback there is a 12:30pm pushback at the NSC, and that sees Harlequins A up against Castletown A. Castletown A, the defending Ladies Premier League champions, beaten last weekend up against this Harlequins A side.
Yeah, and last weekend, of course, we covered the game on Saturday Live, Castletown against Valkyries, and Valkyries just punished every mistake that Castletown made, so Castletown will know that this weekend they need to make amends for that. As for Harlequins, though, they only lost 3-0 last week to Vikings A, which is no big loss, but there was lots of promising stuff there. So could they cause an upset here?
We'll have to wait and see. Well, straight after that, at 2 p.m. at the NSC, this sees Vikings A up against Castletown B, Ben.
Vikings have got quite a few new young players in their squad this season, as well as their usual regulars in their team. Whereas Castletown B, though, they'll be making sure that they avoid that relegation battle. So to try and get something out of this game is going to be a task. I think Vikings will be too strong on the day.
And the other game in the Ladies Premier League is at 2 o'clock out at QE2 in Peel, and that sees Valkyries A against Backers A.
Yeah, close game ahead. Valkyries got a good win last week, as did their Backers, so it could be a very close game, that one.
Let's take a look at the other divisions then. We'll go to the respective Division 1s, starting off with 2 games in Men's Division 1.
And the first game in this league is at 11 o'clock at QE2, and this sees Valkyries B against Vikings C. Tough game ahead for both teams. Vikings C just got that narrow win last week over Harlequins B, whereas Valkyries B had a great win against Ramsey A last week. And then the second game in this league is at 3:35 at Castle Rushen High School. Harlequins B against Vikings B. Vikings B are looking a little bit stronger, so I'm going to go for a Vikings B win there.
And 2 games also in Ladies Division 1.
And the first one of that is at 11 o'clock at the NSC. And again, it's another battle of the B teams between Backers B and Vikings B. Vikings B had a good win last week as well as Backers B, so it could be a very close game, that one. And then the second game in this league is at 2 o'clock at Ramsey Grammar School. And that sees Ramsey A against Castletown C. And I'm going to go for a Ramsey win there.
And now let's take a look at the respective Division 2s. There's 2 games once more in Men's Division 2.
12 o'clock at King William's College, and this sees Backers D against Castletown C. This one I think will be a good, nice, friendly game. It could be a close one. And then the final game in this league is Ramsey B against Backers Colts, 3 o'clock at KWC. I'm going to go for a Backers Colts win on that one.
Last but certainly not least, in the senior leagues, we have 3 games in Ladies Division 2.
And the first one at Castle Rushen High School at 12:30 is Valkyries C against Castletown E. I'm going to go for a Valkyries C win on that one. Second game is Vikings C against Harlequins B, 2 o'clock at Castle Rushen High School. I'm going to go for a Harlequins B win there. And then the final game is Castletown D against Ramsey B, 3:35 at Ramsey Grammar School. And I'm going to go for a Ramsey B win.
Well, that's all we have time for on Friday Sport Preview this week. Many thanks to my guests, as always, Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham. And as always, have yourself a wonderful Friday evening and a wonderful weekend as well. But from me, until next time, once again, it's bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.